Hello everybody, this is Michelle Fox and welcome back to The Simple Quilter. As always, I'm always glad to be filming videos for all of you, and today I will be talking about the Moda Scrap Bag, but before I get started on that, let me just tell you about the quilt you see on the design wall behind me. This is my courthouse step quilt, and I just recorded a video on that, so I'll put a link to that video up above, and I'm still working on that one, so I'm going to leave it up there while I do the filming of this video. But today we're going to be talking about Moda Scrap Bags. Just recently I filmed my 4th organizational video on how to organize your fabric stash, and I'll put a link up there for that video also. But in that video I went through, or while I was filming that video, I went through my fabric stash. And one of the goals this year is, for me personally, is to try to use some of the fabric that's in my stash, and I'm trying to limit the amount of fabric that I buy. Now, don't get me wrong, I am still buying some fabric, but I am trying to limit it because I really want to use some of the fabric that's in my stash because I've had a lot of it for a long time and I want to put it to good use. And anyway, while I was cleaning out my cabinets, I ran across the Moda Scrap Bag. And I had been wanting to make something with these, but I am going to make something with these. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what the Moda Scrap Bag is. Now, the Moda Scrap Bag is just, it says a half a pound of fabric. I'm not sure, that doesn't really mean much to me, but supposedly there's approximately a half a pound of fabric in here. And what these are remnants from Moda's pre-cuts like cake layers and charm packs. So you get anywhere from 25 to 30 strips of fabric in here. Sometimes they have the selvages on them, but I'm going to show you a couple that I got that didn't have any selvages, and I feel like that was a really good deal. But I did get started and I opened all the bags. At first I just opened one, but then I'm like, I gotta see what's in the other bag, because when you purchase them, you can't see. You can only see one little fabric through the little window there at the top, and they're sealed shut, so you really can't open them to see what's in. So it's really what's in them, so it's really a surprise when you open one. And the first one I opened is a collection called Little Ruby. I love the collection. However, every strip had selvages on it. Now, I love selvages, so I did cut the selvages off, but a lot of the strips I cut the selvage off left me with very small strips because I cut 3/4 of an inch off from the selvage line when I cut the selvages. But let me just show you up close what some of these Moda Scrap Bags look like. Okay, now here again is the little bag, cute little bag, and you can't really see what all the fabrics look like in there. So again, it's going to be a big surprise. And these bags, when I purchased them, were $14.50 each. I purchased these a long time ago. And you can get them on Etsy, Amazon. You can buy them still at some quilt shops. Okay, so here is the first collection. This was Little Ruby, the Little Ruby collection, and I just love the fabric. It was all of the entire fabric line, and as you can see, some of my strips were pretty narrow. I'm not exactly for sure what I'm going to make out of this, but I'll make something out of it. But you can see there, I cut off all the selvages and pressed them, and so this one is ready to be used. And again, that one wasn't too much of a disappointment because I got a lot of really cute selvages off that. Here is another one that I opened. And this is some pretty cool fabric, really. I like this. I'm thinking I might do a patriotic table runner or something out of this, or maybe make placemats. Who knows what I'll do with it. Shoot. this line is put out, of course, by Moda. It's by Sweetwater, and it's called Freedom. And I love these fabrics. I mean, just look at some of these. They're so cool. But again, I'm going to want to save some of those selvages, so I'm going to end up with some pretty small strips. So I haven't really decided yet what I'm going to do with this one. Now here's another one, and all of these have selvages on them. This collection is a Kate Spain one called North Woods. This looks a little Christmassy to me, but it has hearts on it too, so this is going to be another one where I'm going to cut those selvages off, so I'm going to have smaller strips. But again, I'll figure out something to do with these. Okay, now these two, I kind of felt like I hit the jackpot on these two, because these two are the same. I didn't know it at the time, but they are. I'm going to make a coin quilt, and I'm going to show you how to make the coin quilt in the second part of this video. Now this one, these two are just jelly roll strips, and there are 20 of them, and I absolutely love these bright fabrics. Look at these fabrics. I love them. Now I do think they threw in a couple. I'm not sure that these really coordinate. I'm not sure if those coordinate or not. They don't look quite like they go with this collection, but maybe they do, but I don't know. I'm not absolutely sure on that. But looky here at this second roll. I'm so excited about this one. Look at the little dragonflies. I love the dragonflies on there. I love the flowers. I'm not really a floral person, but I don't know, more and more I'm liking flowers. But I just love these bright colors, and I have some coordinating brights I can throw in there if I don't have enough pieces to make the quilt that I want to make. Okay, so this is the first part of the video, and you're going to see me wearing a different shirt next time because I'm going to show you how I made the coin quilt. Hello everybody, I'm back. It has been several weeks since I filmed the first portion of this video, but I've been busy working on this coin quilt, and I will be showing you how I've put this together in just a little bit, but there's a couple of things I have to tell you. In the first part of this video, I told you that the Moda scrap bags that I'm using had jelly rolls in them, but these are actually 3-inch strips, so I was really happy when I measured that because I had way more fabric than I thought. So anyway, these are 3-inch strips, and they only had the selvage on the very end. And also in my last video, I said more than once that I was trying really hard not to buy fabric. Well, I guess I've got to quit saying that, or I didn't try hard enough, because I have been purchasing a lot of fabric. So I don't know what it is. I guess I just can't help myself. But anyway, I have been purchasing more fabric, and I just wanted to be sure to be honest with you all that I still am going to try to use some of the fabric that's in my stash, but I also am anxious to sew with some of this new fabric that I've been purchasing. Let me first step aside and let you see this quilt, and just I only have the top part here, and it's not completely done because I wanted to show you how I'm assembling it, but let me just step aside so you can get a better view. Now during the video I will be referring to these as the larger coin rows and the smaller coin rows. To begin with, I took all of the strips and I cut them in half. And I did not remove the selvages. I cut them in half with the selvages on. The reason I did that was because I wanted a larger variety of strip sets. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so like right here, I had, let's see, yellow, blue, orange, and then this stripe. and I pieced those together. So there's only one other set just like that. If I had sewed the entire strip together, then I would have had 4 just like that. And I just wanted more of a variety, so I cut them all in half. Okay, so I'm using the strips that I had left, and as you can see, I really didn't have hardly any strips left to work with. So what I did is I just picked out 4 strips, and I just sewed 2 together, 2 together, pressed them open, and then I sewed all those 4 together. Okay, so after I have those sewn together and my seams pressed, then I'm just going to straighten up these edges. Now once I have that edge straightened up, I'm going to use my ruler here and I'm going to cut my blocks at 10 and a half. Okay, I'm lining up here on the end and then across there. All right, 10 and a half. Now there's one of the pieces for my larger coin stacks or coin rows. And I see, yeah, I have to be really careful because I wanted to use all of the fabric that I could, and you can see I didn't have hardly any left here on the end. Okay, all right, so then there are the stacks that I had. Now I don't really have any more to show you the large stacks because I've used all my strips. Now I thought that was really cool that I used all of them, and I did pull a little bit from my stash because I had this pink stripe in my fabric stash, and it actually was a coordinating fabric to these, and I thought that was really, really neat. So I did go ahead and use that. And then when I went to sew them all together, I just picked different ones, put them on my design wall, and then I just sewed them together like that until I had the length that I wanted for my quilt top. Okay, now so this was the large ones. Now let me show you what I did to cut my smaller ones. Now my smaller ones I cut 2.5 inches. So finished they are 2-inch strips. So then I just subcut these at 2.5. And then I just made several of those, and that's what formed the small coin strips in my quilt. And I did lay everything out on my design wall before I started sewing it together once I had these small sets and these larger sets together. And I was able to get, let me see, I think I was able to get 4 strips. Yeah, I was able to get 4 2.5-inch strips out of there, and I had just 1/2 inch left over, and I didn't waste it. It went in my dog bed bag for my dog beds. Okay, so let me just recap. So these strip sets just go right in here, and that's how, and then I just stacked them up, and that's how I made my strip set here. And then these, of course, are just these, and then sewn. So I lined all that up on my design wall. Then the strippings, then the sashing pieces here, I cut at 3.5 inches. And I did have to piece 2 pieces together, which I will show you how to do that. And then for the outer border, I just used the white. and I did 6.5-inch strips there because I really wanted a pretty big quilt. Okay, so for my sashing strips, I just cut 2 3.5-inch pieces, the width of the fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to pin right sides together. Now here's selvage and here's selvage, but I've left that out. And I'm just going to draw a line from corner to corner. And I'm just going to sew on that line and trim 1/4 inch. So then it's going to look like this, and then you can see I've trimmed that. I've trimmed off 1/4 inch and pressed it. And there's my seam. Okay, now I know that my strip sets are 71 inches long, so I know this has to be 35.5 inches. And since I don't have a long enough ruler for that, I just do use my tape measure, and I am sure to use the same tape measure each time. And then I cut that at 35.5 inches. Right? Then what I do is I fold this in half again, and I'm going to press to make creases here and here. Now the reason I do that, because that marks halfway and 1/4 on each end. Okay, so then when I have my strip set, I take my strip set and I fold it in half, just like that. And I put a pin in where it's half, and I know that half is going to be the seam there. And then I fold it in half again, and I know that these two are going to line up with the marks that I have for 1/4 inch. Okay. Then I just take my sashing piece, this is the halfway mark, so I'm going to put that seam right there on the halfway. There's my end. This is going to line up with that seam. This one's going to line up with this seam, or that little line that I've pressed. And that's going to line up there, and I just pin that good, and then I press it to the darker fabric. And that's how I put on my sashings and my borders. Okay, so after I sewed the first sashing strip to my small coin set, then I attached another sashing strip. And then I attached this unit to the larger coin strip. And then I did the same thing here. I put these 3 together and attached this. And then I put on the first 6.5-inch border. Now, I haven't included the exact measurements of this quilt because I really wanted to just show you the process of putting a coin quilt together. It's so easy, and it was so much fun to make. You can decide based on either what you want or how much fabric you have, how big you want the coin quilt to be. There's so many different things you could do to make a coin quilt. and make it your own. For example, if I hadn't had enough fabric to make these, I could have just made those a solid fabric, and that would have looked really neat too. I could have made a lap size quilt, but luckily I had those two big Moda Scrap Bags so that I could make a big quilt. And like I've told you all before, I love to make larger quilts. This was a super fun quilt to make. Again, it's so easy, and the fabric collection was just such a happy set of fabric that it made me happy when I was making it. You didn't even have to have a Moda Scrap Bag to make this quilt. You could have made it completely from your fabric stash or your scrap bins, however you wanted to do it, and again, whatever size you wanted to make it. For those of you that are new to my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, leave a comment. I love to get the comments, and I try to reply to every single comment. So until next time, have fun quilting.